Sri?
Yeah.
Hi, Sri. My name is Kalpesh. I come from Sri. Good. Yes. Please have a seat. Any place.
Thank you very much. So you're aware of the report we're working on?
Not really.
Not really.
No, I just went through the email, and that's pretty much what I know.
Great. Well, hopefully we can enlighten you with a little bit more. So we're from Capgemini, and I work in the digital and innovation team. So I head up digital innovation for Capgemini across the Middle East. And these two, my colleagues, are working in the market intelligence, the global market intelligence for Capgemini. And we produce a lot of reports. So we produce, as you mentioned, the payments report, the fintech report. So we produce a lot of those reports, and these guys write a lot of those reports. So we were talking to Mohsen and Ziad over the last year about working on the report. So rather than just put out a standard report, which is your figures and your data, to put out a really kind of interesting thought leadership report, which has an opinion from Saudi Payments. And the objective is to position Saudi Payments as a thought leader, an enabler at the centre of the ecosystem, and talking about payments with credibility, and talking about the future of payment, the past of what's happened, as an enabler of payments, success, talk about the successes of cash conversion, e-payments, talk about new innovations in the industry, and then to talk about what might come. So very much around positioning Saudi Payments as, we're leaders, we know what we're talking about. The market is to be led at the conference,
Medtech.
I always forget that, apologies.
Yeah.
To be launched at that report, but to have 3 phases. So the first phase launch for Medtech, and then 2 further phases. So the first phase is to focus on regulation and state of the market, what's happening in the market, what data has Saudi Payments got, and also but more important than just the data, the so what. So cash has grown from X to Y, this is why we believe it's happening, and this is what we think is going to happen in the future. NFC payments have gone from here to here, this is why, this is where we compare you to other markets. So the idea is, rather than put out a 100-page report full of big graphs and big data reports, it's a shortened report, very analytical, very thought leading, and that's why we wanted to speak to you. So we're interviewing all of the VPs to get opinions and thoughts to put into that report. So the idea would be that we have a bunch of questions we'd like to ask you. If you could answer them as open and opinionated as possible. We will then choose some of these storylines. So these guys write the storyline, create the story, and then we'll take some quotes which we'll play back to you. So nothing you say will go into the report before you've seen that. So we'll make sure you're happy to go back with the quote, and then we create the report. And it'll be visual, it'll be infographic led, there'll be short videos created. So we're very aware that these reports, people that read these 60-page reports, you want to see it on Instagram or Twitter, so you want a short form. We want to have strong infographics, and we'll have short video tutorials to talk about the key findings. And then there's the detailed report. So that's the plan.
Good. Sounds good.
So these guys are the experts. They write all of the reports, and we've got a bunch of questions. If you wouldn't mind us
Please go
talk
ahead.
through. Great.
Yeah. To start with, what innovation from the non-banks are you witnessing today? Maybe for, if I can take the example of SDC Pay, Halala. So what is the kind of innovation? How do you see that transforming the current landscape?
Well, in my view, with respect to that kind of innovation, I think we're more or less trying to follow what has been actually happening internationally. So person-to-person payment, easy of international remittance has been there for a while. However, I think the ecosystem was not enabled to be able to bring those ideas to the market. And I think what is happening now is that the market is being more enabled to be able to engage and create those innovations into spaces. And I think what is important is to define what is innovation. And I think innovation has a different definition from a different organization. One of the things that we started to use and the Innovation Hub here is something that we took the essence from the OECD. So they have something called the Oslo Manual, which represent around 36 countries and how do they define innovation. And then we took that definition and we start to customize it all the way to what does it mean to Saudi payment, what does it need to mean, for us in the innovation. And from our perspective, innovation is all about introducing a new product or service to the market that is different significantly to existing products or services in the market. And we have to bound that within regulation. So that entity that releases the product and services has to be regulated in that space as well. So the question is, how can we say different significantly? So we looked at significant into two primary elements: novelty and impact. So we see that innovation and we are trying to figure out, is it truly novel? And then we define a boundary. So the novelty is it globally or is it locally? So we said, no, it has to be local, and the impact, obviously, it must be local, and then it can go beyond. So if we looked at STC Pay and Halala, and we apply that definition to them, they are both innovative. Because prior to Halala and STC Pay, person-to-person payment using mobile number and almost 24/7 did not exist in Saudi Arabia. So by doing so, it's in place. STC Pay went to the international remittance, and they facilitate basically the whole international remittance and money movement, which is very interesting as well. What truly I'm looking to see is what is beyond that. Those two are well-known use cases for payment. So what is going to happen in the market other than person-to-person payment, other than the international remittance and making it easier? This is what I'm expecting to see, and I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, beyond P2P and
Yeah,
international
beyond
remittance.
P2P and international remittance, with respect to payment, I haven't seen anything yet
Okay,
from innovation perspective.
okay.
If we finish the whole questions, and I think that questions and answers is basically will open up the door for a number of things. We have here a number of interesting innovations that we're actually working on.
Okay.
And I'll be more than happy when we close the questions and answers to share with you what we're actually working on.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
great.
Yeah.
Some of those things related to establishing an EEG, where we actually read the brainwaves of individuals who has a lot of a severe degree of parallelism, and they are disconnected from the banking community. They need a guardian to be able to do banking. They don't want to do that, but I mean, they don't have any other choice, because the technology is not in place to allow them to do so, because they cannot move. So some of the activities or the things that we're working on are things to that extreme, where we can enable the disabled to be able to do banking and transfer money and pay bills. And we have some visuals I can actually share
Wow.
with you as well.
Yeah.
I have a number of other examples, but whenever you finish your questions, I can actually move
Sure.
into that section.
So, just in extension of what you said in terms of you see innovation from two aspects. So I've plotted in 2x2 metrics, one x-axis and y-axis, novelty and impact.
Yeah.
So North Star, which is like right on the top, is something like achievement what you want to see.
Yes.
And you have quoted a few examples in remittance and person to person. Any more points you can help us with, so with that we can feature in our report, so that also showcases the strength of Saudi payments. So these are two valid points for us, very important. Any
Yeah.
additional point?
But I think the P2P, for example, and the remittance is honestly not something that we worked on ourselves.
Right.
We enabled the market, and the market basically responded and created that. As we go in the future, for example, the cases will be more complicated, however the value will be extrapolated. Let me give you an example. If you look into the whole lending business in Saudi, lending is not payment. Obviously, it's not payment. It's a completely different business. However, I think what we have been positioned properly in Saudi payment from the beginning is that we always sit in the middle and sometimes run other services than payment and use them to enable payment in the entire country. Let me give you an example. We're obviously not in the process of buying and selling, but we used trading, which is buying and selling. So we stick in the middle and we enable the payment for the buying and the selling. Well, that's Mada, for example. If we look into Sadat, I'm not sure, do you know Sadat?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sadat, electronic bill presentment and payment. Are we in that business? No, we're not. We are in the business of payment. But we have a product that responds to a significant market problem we created Sadat so that we can ease up the whole payment.
Yeah.
But the whole purpose is not to solve the bill presentment, but honestly to facilitate the payment. How do we facilitate the payment? By creating a solution that solves that problem. I'll give you an example, which is the lending, which I just mentioned. Today, if you are in banking with a bank, Bank X, and you decided to go and take a loan from Bank Y, because you've heard that Bank Y is providing a much lower cost loans. You go to Bank Y and ask them, okay, I need a loan. They said, well, I don't know you. Who are you? I have no clue about you. We don't have open banking yet in Saudi. It might come and may not come. If it comes, it could facilitate the whole thing. But today, what happens is that Bank Y will give you a loan that is more expensive because the risk for him is much higher, obviously, right? So what we are thinking of doing, and hopefully anticipate for someone to do something like this, is to create a platform similar like Sadat, okay, where they can use easily smart contracts between Bank A, Bank B, and myself as a person who wants the loan, and link that, for example, to the Ministry of Justice. Let me explain it. So the moment I, Khalid, want to take a loan from Bank Y, we write everything in the smart contract. I mean, the amount, the installment, the periods, and the penalties, and everything in place. So now it's not up to anyone's judgment to stop the contract from executing each and every month. So why Bank Y doesn't trust me? Because he's afraid that I will not actually pay back, right? This is one of the primary reasons. But if the smart contract is in place between the four parties, and the money surely by the end of the month will be transferred from Bank X, which is my primary bank, to Bank Y, and if I don't respond, they don't need to chase me or send a collector. Case immediately will execute and it will go to the Ministry of Justice. Okay? So those are the kind of innovation that I believe will create a significant impact.
Yeah.
Okay, when they get created. It's not about person-to-person payment, because honestly, if you do only person-to-person payment, where is the money going to come from? Eventually, it's a losing business. This is my point of view.
Do you see those? Do you see them coming from established financial players, from fintechs, or from international companies? Where, a lot of person-to-person payment, the next sphere. Where do you see those coming from?
You mean the person-to-person, or you mean
away from person-to-person? The next level of innovation. Where do you see that coming out of?
To tell you the truth, I think it's going to come from everywhere, depending on are we creating enough space for the whole market to play fairly. I think part of the challenge, and I'll be frank, part of the challenge is the local ecosystem, which sometimes does not allow you honestly to grow significantly and fast. But if an international player is coming offering the same product and service, they might welcome them. So why are we not treating them fairly? And I think we have plenty of talents. Okay, maybe they need guidance, which is fine. It's part of the whole evolution. But we need to give them enough space to be able to test and experiment and grow and fail. And I think that is today what we are not used to in this country yet. So, and I think we started to exercise a level of that, but still we're not at that level of degree where we will trust the local to create product and we will still buy those services from them.
Do you believe SAMA will regulate that way? Do you think they will open that, enable that?
SAMA created the sandbox. So the sandbox is in place. However, the whole processes are not in place and the team is testing everything, which is normal. If you go to the UK and the others as well, they have done exactly the same. Okay, so I think it's an evolution. The maturity level is not what we anticipate to be in, but that's normal because we just started last year. So I think it's a journey. We will reach eventually the target position that we want to be in. But to answer your question, on the short term, I think the innovation might come from abroad. Okay. However, we will start to see more and more from the local rising, because they will always come back to the regulator and say, well, how come you're allowing X to do this and you don't allow me to do it? But do we have enough market to allow multiple competitors basically to work there? And that's another question. Still, our market is not really big. That's my perspective.
This DLT based or smart contract project is still in proof of concept?
Yes. We've already finished the ideation phase for that.
Okay.
We haven't started, honestly, to do anything with it. So this is one of 7 concepts that got approved by Saudi Payment
Okay.
for the Innovation Hub to start working on them. So what we have done is that we created the priority matrix, and out of the 7, we selected 4 to implement in 2020. Okay? And again, I'll be more than happy to share with you some of that information.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you have anything like a document type that can be shared from your end
On what?
on the 7 concepts and the 4 concepts which are approved for 2020 and all those things?
I have actually.
That is shareable so that we can refer during a.
I'm not sure if it's shareable to send it to you fully, but I think I can take you through the concepts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it comes down to whether you want to put that into the report. It's whether you want to share that publicly yet on your concepts to show where Saudi Payments is thinking. It'd be nice to show something about the thought process if possible without giving too much away.
I think, for example, we can highlight maybe 1 or 2 concepts that we're actually working on to give an example of the market, what kind of innovation we're doing. I mean, for example, we had a product called Naqdi, which I think you'll find the logo downstairs as well. It's literally a person-to-person that we've been working on a while ago. But after developing our strategy, where we're actually working as a back end and we enable the market, we decided to stop launching the product. So we want to tell the market we are innovating, and we're innovating with something completely different. So it's a different level of innovation. Another example, let me give it to you. Today, if you go to a toll, you're driving your car and you go to a toll street, I mean, there are multiple models that is happening. Sometimes you have to stop and pay, debit card, credit card, cash. And sometimes you have those devices or RFID tags like in Salik in Dubai, where you just go across the bridge, right? What we're actually doing with respect to payment, if you take now human who is going and using the public transportation, the most advanced thing that we have seen that is actually massively used is people using their credit card or a debit card to tap and go, or buy a closed loop card like in Oyster and the others, Octopus, to do something similar. One of the concepts that we're actually working on now that got approved recently is that we want to bring exactly the same Salik experience into human. So for each and every individual, we will find a way to issue, let's say, an RFID kind of a tag. Okay, you could have it as a tag, you could have it as a card, you could have it as a bracelet, you could have it as whatever you want. You just need to carry it with you. Okay, you get into a metro or a public transportation, and we are trying to eliminate the concept of payment. So you just walk in, get into your metro station, and you just walk out, and you will be charged. There are no gates. I mean, obviously, there will be like long-range RFID readers and mechanism to identify, and that's what we're working on. But eventually, imagine a lady or a man with his 2-3 kids. I have 4 kids, so I know exactly what's the problem. And everyone is running around, and there is a queue, and I reach there. It's a hustle. You stop, don't go, queue, and where is my car? It's a hustle. So we want to remove all that hustle.
Fantastic.
So you just walk in, you get paid. That's it.
Now, to connect the dots, in India recently, by December end, they have rolled out this initiative wherein every car would be tagged with an RFID tag.
Perfect.
So the toll payments are taken care of.
Okay.
So there will be no more manual payments, nor do the drivers or the users of the car will go pay the card. Rather, it will read, and your wallet will be.
That's for the cars, right?
That's for the cars.
We
Now
want to
this
do
is
it for
next
human.
level for individuals.
Yeah, we want to do it for human.
humans,
Yeah.
wonderful.
So we want to bring for each and every one of those concepts, just to give you a flavor. And again, I'll be more than happy to spend some time with you either now or later. It won't take more than 2 minutes. Enough time?
We have a lot of time now, but the only thing is next meeting is scheduled with.
You could, if you want, are you in Saudi this week? Or
Yes.
you're traveling?
No.
Huh?
Till Thursday we are here.
If you want, we can maybe have an extended meeting on Thursday. Okay, maybe another hour or so if you want.
We can arrange another.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can actually take you through more details of what I'm basically talking about. So you can actually put it in the report and we can put things in perspective.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I just want to give you one or two screens of how do we think.
Yeah.
So while this is working, the approach we took is that we have a very long innovation process, ideation primarily, and what we have done is we used something like the Dragon's Den approach and concept. So we have our internal, fighting internally within the team, and then at the end of the day, we find, let's say, 8 concepts. For each and every one of those concepts, we go and create a pitch deck. And we use the
Yes.
committee as the dragons. Okay? We have 15 minutes to present each and every deck. Okay? And we give them 10-15 minutes to debate it. At the end of the day, we said we need an approval. Is it approved to be implemented next year or not? So we presented this year 8 concepts, last year, sorry, 8 concepts, 7 of the 8 got approved. So,
Wow.
for each one of them, we have like a pitch deck. So let me take you through. So some of them are really, really interesting, like to create a payment card using shrimp, literally shrimps in the fish. It's an abundant material. There is a lot of carbon emission coming from plastic. We did a lot of calculation, how many cards we issued, and then we calculate the carbon emission. I said, you know what, the shell is there, they're thrown away. Can we create cards out of shell? And we actually found some material has been created using shellfish to mimic plastic, and those are the concepts that we're working on. So it's not the typical payment kind of a
These
concept.
are all internal employee concepts.
Completely. So this is the one I was talking about, which is payment. We called it Keep Walking, which is the metro part. So again, the approach we take, we look into the domain, which is transportation, statistics, how many people are jumping into that basically domain. Then we take we start to zoom into the region, EMEA, what is happening in the EMEA. How many people are riding the train? On average, it's 606,000 metro ride per day, per city in MENA. So taking that average and apply it to Riyadh, we're a city, so we'll get on a daily basis around more than 500,000 trip every day. So that's the problem. How can we solve the problem? We looked around for the journey of simplifying the whole riding in a metro. It was very complex, simple. Then what we want to go is get into the metro, get into your train, and then get out. We looked, and the most advanced one was basically in China. They used the facial recognition, but again, it's a gate. You have to stop. You have to align your face properly. In the country, we wear hijab. We wear a number of other things. It doesn't necessarily work. So we eliminated the whole basically option. Again, this is what inspired us. Cars. It's working for cars. Why can't we bring it to human? Okay. Then we looked into the RFID, the technology, and so forth. Then that's our concept. And then what we made sure is it has to be aligned with the Financial Services Development Program of Saudi. It has to be linked to the objective of the strategy, and it has sometimes have different objectives as well. So for each and every concept of the 8, it has a linkability to the Vision 2030, Saudi objective, Saudi payment objective, and so forth. We have the other one, final one, and I'll stop until let's say Thursday. This is the other one, which is the EEG. People have disability. What we want to do is that is technology used in health. We basically want to use it for human to be able to read the brainwave of an individual who's paralyzed, and then create a specific apps for banks for them. Again, it's the same back end. It's the bank, but we need to create an app that individual with that degree of inability can interact with, and we can read that signal that is different than our signal. Okay? I'll explain what does those screens mean and how does it work when we basically sit together. So a lot of research has actually went through each and every one of those concepts, and I think that is one of the reasons we managed to get a very high approval rate.
That's
on
real innovation. That's
Yeah.
It's like a modern version of Braille. Braille was invented for blind people. Voice, now it's the next generation.
So can we put it this way? Saudi Payments is thinking beyond payments and infrastructure and impacting the society and a lot of other things which you were talking about.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Actually, the way we do innovation in the Innovation Hub as part of Saudi Payment is that we said Saudi Payment is focusing on innovation exploitation, while we are focusing on innovation exploration. So we take a human-based approach to solve problem where payment is part of that problem. So it's not necessarily that we'll only fix the payment. So we fix the whole problem, or we try to fix part of that problem by finding a way to improving the payment as well.
Does that come out of the strategy? We hear a lot about the cashless, enabling the cashless society. This is more enabling society. You're enabling
To become cashless.
veteran society. Does that come out of the strategy? Do you have an element of society as opposed to payments?
I don't think we have something to society in our strategy. No, we don't.
No.
We focus on payment. It's always a debate between us VPs and the MDs. Sometimes we say, no, we want to focus on payment, while some of us say, no, we want to make it broader. But I think what we had in the strategy is something balanced.
That's a nice position that we can deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have got financial inclusion, we have society, and we are going through human experience, a lot of things where you have given family example and all in the metro station and all. So these are the elements really, world can look up to what Saudi Arabia is doing. They are thinking beyond payments, going one step ahead than most of them who are already established but not thinking, beyond payments. So that's something.
We have one on Thursday, I'll show it to you. It's all about kids, which is related to the cashless. Well, kids today, they have to use cash because they don't have devices. So what we have done is that we created something where we find a way to help the parents to reward their children in a way so that they work out at home, prepare their beds or do something, get paid, and then they have the money that they can actually spend it in school. So we have some interesting concepts, and it was approved as well.
Have you seen Go Henry?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was actually one of the apps that we looked at.
So good. My kids, if you set chores for your kids.
Chores,
Tidy your bedroom,
exactly. It's
wash
chores.
the car, and then you enable payments to them.
Oh,
if
wow.
they have a device, so they need to be of an age to have a device. But Go Henry is it's a nice concept.
So
We
redefining.
also have the local one, Saudi app similar to this.
I think they're working on something. Yeah.
For chores and things.
Yeah.
Nice.
What we're trying to do with this one is to link it again with the payment. So again,
Yeah,
we have to solve a problem. Schools today is purely cash. Schools are purely cash. So part of us solving that problem,
Yeah, absolutely.
if the child is having an iPad, a screen, or a mobile, okay, and mobile sometimes is not allowed in school. So we're trying to find a way as well to give a bracelet to the kids. So link the bracelet like the Fitbit with the device, so you can always go and pay and do something like this as well.
So a lot of things also you mentioned where technology is involved, where you're talking about smart watches or something like RFIDs and all wearables. So we need to, in the interest of time, we may not be able to touch upon, but yes, technology
Thursday,
aspect is something we will look at also
course.
on Thursday and discuss further. Yeah. So I think the 30 minutes has gone so much fast, so 1 hour will not be
Sorry,
enough on
please.
Thursday.
It's
Not
because this has
enough
been,
at all.
don't tell the other VPs, but this has been the most interesting.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
And one last question, if I can ask. There is some what we call as emerging technologies is APIs, cloud, AI, artificial intelligence, IoT, and DLT.
Okay.
I've heard about smart cards, smart contracts, use
Yes.
cases that you just said. So
Yes.
DLT is taken care of. But what about the other emerging technologies? How do you see them shaping up here?
You mean Saudi primarily?
Saudi, primarily. Yeah.
To tell you the truth, it's those things. I haven't seen something significant in Saudi happening.
Okay.
I mean, again, no, nothing. I mean, it's primarily the DLT that I'm seeing, which is distributed ledger, blockchain. But nothing beyond that. Nothing.
APIs.
API, I'm a technologist, I'm not a banker. So for me, API is not new. I've been working on APIs since 2008.
But
So
API
it's
is
not
more
new
so,
for me.
for different backend systems to talk to each other, and with the external systems, APIs have been used,
Yes.
but not for enabling payments. So that's the kind
Yeah,
of
from a payment perspective, yes. I mean, excuse my view, it's again different. I don't see API as an emerging technology. That's my sense.
Okay.
Okay, I think been always in the market. So, for
It's
example,
a buzzword.
It's a buzzword. So, for example, if a car has been always driven in South Africa, if I took it to Nigeria, is it an innovation? I don't think it's an innovation. Again, this is how I look at it personally. It's been always there, but we decided not to use it for a while. So,
So,
Yeah, but
That's great.
it's been wonderful talking to
thank you very much.
thank you so much for your
Pleasure.
time. Yeah.
So Thursday, hopefully, I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take you through them.
But did you see the announcement? Dubai Airports. Dubai Airports tried to make an announcement saying they want to get rid of Emirates ID.
No.
And you would walk through the airport. Same
Really?
for